Well, welcome this afternoon. I get the opportunity to talk about RAP Bulletin number 8, which is a field guide related to the installation of embedded galvanic anodes. And embedded galvanic anodes are used in projects where you're dealing with corrosion of the reinforcing steel, either corrosion that's already ongoing or corrosion that's anticipated in the future. And this slide just shows you a range of different types of structures where you see corrosion of the reinforcing steel. Often it's because of direct exposure to chlorides. Sometimes, even epoxy-coated rebar does corrode if you contaminate the structure with chlorides. And even if you go and wrap columns that are chloride contaminated or carbonated and are corroding, it's going to continue corroding inside there unless you do something to deal with the corrosion issue. And so in terms of the overall concrete repair process or concrete preservation process, where does this fit in? You start at the beginning of the process with a problem, usually something that's visually obvious. You'll do some evaluation. You'll move to determine what the cause of the problem is here. You'll come down to determining whether you need to do repairs or not. If you do decide yes, then you will continue to do repair analysis and you'll develop your repair strategy. And then once you have your repair strategy, you're going to go out there and do it in the field. And in the presentation, the RAP documents that Peter just went through, you're going to deal with all of the issues at the top of this list, which are demolition, surface preparation, selection and application of the appropriate repair material. And what I'm going to talk about is in the next box further down, which is related to cathodic protection or corrosion protection, which is separate from physically doing the repair itself. Okay, so why use this repair? You would use this repair if you have a situation where you have corrosion due to chloride contamination or carbonation. One of the most common applications of this technique, or where it's used, is in relation to the ring anode or halo type corrosion situation. This is a common occurrence that happens when you do physical concrete repairs using any of the techniques that Peter just talked about, but you don't take into account the fact that you have general chloride contamination or general carbonation of the structure. And these four photographs are all different types of structures. All structures that have been localized concrete repairs have been completed in the past, but the concrete beyond the repairs was either chloride contaminated or carbonated, and corrosion continued in those locations, which has led to secondary delamination and spalling and the need to go back and do repairs. Even if the repairs themselves were done very well, chipping around behind the bars, this isn't going to address the area outside of the repair. Okay, so why does this happen? This is touched on in the RAP document, but I think you need to understand this to really understand why this is important. When you're doing a localized concrete repair in a structure that's either chloride contaminated or carbonated, we will typically remove a section of the concrete, we'll chip around behind the steel, we'll clean the steel in those areas, and we'll pour back fresh, hopefully chloride-free concrete. And physically, everything looks good, and a lot of times people just walk away from the situation. And sometimes it fails over time if you do that because you're leaving an incompatibility that's built into the structure itself. Okay, we're leaving chloride-contaminated concrete adjacent to the repair that we just completed, whereas the repair itself is generally chloride-free, and quite often other steel within the structure, like the second mat of steel in this deck example, is often in chloride-free concrete as well. And from a chemistry point of view, or an electrochemistry point of view, if you want to understand why this happens, it's because you have voltages within the structure. And once you have different voltages within the structure, you induce currents to flow, okay? So if we measure a half-cell potential of the steel, say on the underside of this slab, we'll typically measure a potential like minus 200, something in the passive range. It might even be more positive than that. If we measure the potential of the steel in the chloride-contaminated concrete outside of the repair, we might measure something in the order of minus 300, minus 400, minus 350 is indicated in the graphic. And in the repair itself, where we've poured back fresh concrete, we're going to measure a passive potential as well. So it might be similar to the potential of the steel down below. The net result is that you have locations that have different potentials than other locations, and that is going to induce current to flow. So current is always going to flow from what's the most negative to areas that are more positive. Electrons are going to flow from the area here in this example to the repair itself or to the steel down below the repair. And that current is generated by corrosion of the steel. First, the steel dissolving to form iron ions, and then ultimately forming Fe2O3, which is the red rust that you're all familiar with. And that will build up on the surface of the steel in the corroding areas, which in this example would be predominantly the area that's just outside of the repair. We can mitigate against that type of localized corrosion by putting a galvanic anode into the repair. The galvanic anode, generally these are zinc-based galvanic anodes. They'll have a potential that will be in the order of minus 1,000 volts, millivolts I mean. 1,000 volts would be very bad. But 1,000 millivolts are essentially around 1 volt. And within this local area that's illustrated, it'll be the most negative thing there, so current will flow from the galvanic anode to the steel, not only within the repair, but the adjacent area as well. And so you'll get localized corrosion protection in that sense. And similarly, it's also covered in the RAP document, you can use this strategy proactively if you have identified hotspot areas in your structure where you have chloride contamination possibly, you have high corrosion potentials, but the concrete hasn't delaminated or spalled yet. You can proactively drill holes and put anodes in those locations to provide an area of galvanic protection. Okay, so when do I use this repair? Generally, this is a repair that's used in combination with localized concrete repairs of carbonated or chloride contaminated structures. It's very often used when you have joints between new and old concrete, like if you're adding on to an existing structure or replacing balconies on a building, those kind of things. You're going to create interfaces between the new and the old that'll have these issues. And you can use it in hotspot areas, corroding hotspot areas in existing structures. The repair application procedure, RAP 8, covers two different types of galvanic anodes. Type 1 anodes, which are typically used inside concrete repairs or in concrete where you're doing, say, concrete additions to an existing structure. Type 1 type anodes illustrated up here in the upper part of the slide, and in the lower part of the slide, the document also talks about type 2 anodes. Those are designed to be installed in typically in drilled holes or in pockets within the concrete. A couple of photos just so you have an idea of how these are actually used in the field. This is a picture from a bridge repair project, so localized bridge repairs on the bottom corners of these pier caps. And you can see the galvanic anodes installed in the repair, and in the photograph in the background here, you can see the repair has been completed. So you're going to use the same techniques that are illustrated in the other RAP documents, but this is just an added option to give more durability to those repairs. This is a similar kind of situation in a parking garage, partial depth repair that would be done by form and pour replacement, and you can see the galvanic anodes, type 1 galvanic anodes installed around the perimeter of the repair. And in the inset photo, you can see that they're connected, electrically connected to the steel, and I'll explain that in a few slides from now, why that's done and how you test for that. Here's some balcony repairs. You can see type 1 anodes in a localized balcony repairs. You do the same thing if you did a balcony replacement. Localized repairs in precast. It's not specific to cast-in-place concrete. It can be used on precast as well. And here's an example of new concrete being added onto an existing structure. This happens to be a bridge deck. Could just as easily be a balcony replacement. You have the existing structure on the right, and they're adding the section to the left. If the old structure has been exposed for a number of years, say to chlorides or simply to carbon dioxide in the air, you will often have a potential difference between the two after this new concrete is poured. And so a line of galvanic anodes just along the interface is a relatively simple way of dealing with that issue. Okay, so just a quick video showing how these are installed in a repair. So this is a type 1 anode, and you have very relaxing music in the background. Thank you, Peter. See, it's the end of the afternoon, and everyone can kind of just, well, it's not quite the end of the afternoon yet, but the end of this portion of the afternoon. So after the repair is cleaned and the bars are cleaned, the anodes are installed. So the anodes here, you're using the tie wires to make an electrical connection to the reinforcing steel. And those anodes or those wires are also holding the anode in place during the concrete placement. Okay? So it's important that the bars are cleaned. It's important that the wires are tightened sufficiently that you have good contact between the wires and the steel. And you'll see here in just a few seconds, after the anode's installed, it's important to go and test to make sure that you have good electrical connection or electrical contact between the anode and the steel in the structure. Okay, so those are type 1 anodes. Type 2 anodes are anodes that are installed proactively in drilled holes. This is usually done on projects where the owner or the engineer has gone and done testing, and they've determined that there's certain areas of the structure that are chloride contaminated or have high corrosion potentials, and they want to do something proactively. And this is way less expensive than going and removing that sound concrete simply to replace it. This is a similar thing in being installed in columns in an industrial plant. And I just want to show basically the same thing, but this is a condo type building along the coast. They're doing a seismic upgrade, so they're wrapping these columns to increase their capacity. But what I want to show you is in the background behind where the FRP is being installed, you see those gray marks on the columns and the columns to the left as well. Those are galvanic anodes that are being installed in those columns because they did testing and they have chlorides in those columns, and they don't want to just wrap it with FRP and have that corrosion continuing inside the FRP wrap where you can't see it. So these anodes are installed.
Rebar should be located and marked on the concrete surface.
There you go, mark your location.
The rebar connection hole is drilled directly to the reinforcing steel adjacent to the anode location. Clean out the connection hole. Drill the anode hole in close proximity to the reinforcing steel connection. Check to ensure proper fit. Make a saw cut groove between the anode hole and the reinforcing steel connection hole. Clean holes of debris and dust. The anode lead wire shall be electrically connected to the rebar connection hole. Confirm electrical continuity between the anode lead wire and the reinforcing steel. Fill the bottom 2/3 of the hole with mortar. Insert anode into the hole and apply pressure, forcing the mortar to fill the annular space around the anode. Make the connection between the anode and the anode lead wire with the chosen connector. Cover the anode and lead wire with embedding mortar. Finish flush, ensuring a minimum of 1 inch cover over the anode.
Okay. Step by step, you just drill a hole, put the anode in the hole, make sure it's connected to the steel. So just some considerations that are in the wrap document. Obviously, the anodes must be electrically connected to the reinforcing steel in order for them to work. It's also important that the reinforcing steel in the perimeter or in the area around where the anode's being installed must be electrically interconnected. When you're embedding anodes into the repair, it's important that the repair material itself doesn't have a resistivity that's too high. So depending on the type of anode you're using, there are different limits for that. Or you use an alternative installation technique, which we don't have time to talk about right now, but it is detailed in the guide. Getting near the end here, safety considerations, you're working with concrete and mortar, and some of the galvanic anodes are also alkaline themselves, so wear protective clothing, gloves, and glasses that are appropriate for the materials that are being used. And in terms of checking the repair, the specifications should include QC procedures and criteria that are specific to this installation. If you specify ACI 563, there is a spec section in ACI 563 that is specific for installation of embedded galvanic anodes. So if you reference that, these points will be covered, and they should include pre-qualification, make sure you're using an appropriate repair material, continuity or the electrical interconnection of the steel, and electrical connection of the anodes to the steel, which I mentioned previously. I'll show you just a couple of slides at the end here about current output can be monitored. In the video you saw how you can just check with a regular multimeter to make sure you have good electrical connection between the anodes and the steel. And in a lot of cases, it's a good idea to install a few anodes and connect them for monitoring purposes. This is a bridge project, and you can see 8 anodes in the left repair and 4 in the right repair, and a couple of slots going back to this gray box. Instead of connecting those anodes directly to the steel, wires from those anodes go to the gray box, and then there's a wire from the gray box that goes and connects to the steel. And by hooking it up that way, you can go to that box at any time in the future, and you can take measurements of the current that's flowing from a single anode or a whole group of anodes to the steel, and you can monitor that over time. And so if you want to have an idea how your anodes are performing, this is highly recommended, and this shows you data over 15 years of that installation on that bridge. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and we'll go from there. Thank you.